Making the decision to go on sabbatical after a 13-year career was extremely hard. Something in me felt really excited at the idea of going, but other parts of me felt uncertain, scared, and lonely, enough to prevent me from taking the leap easily. I was uncertain about what the right decision was because my brain and my heart both seemed to want different things. I felt scared of making the wrong decision and damaging my career and my finances in the process. I knew it was one of those big life decisions that would likely have a huge impact on my life. I also felt lonely because no one around me had ever gone on sabbatical before, so they couldn't help much in my decision-making process. And they couldn't make such a personal decision for me either. And on top of that, I was super busy at work, so I really didn't have any time or headspace to give the whole idea some proper thought. Ultimately, it took me months to make a decision. And now that I've spoken to many people who have gone through the process, I'm pleased to say that that's completely normal. The kind of things that helped me and the many others I've spoken with on the topic make what felt like a good decision were things like listening to and reading stories from people who'd made the decision themselves, or people who were living a life outside of traditional work patterns. So books, podcasts, blogs. Then having honest, thoughtful, and compassionate conversations with a few people I knew who had my interests at heart also helped. That's people like my partner, my family, friends, a coach, and other helping hands. I also found it really useful to do a few specific exercises to help me look at the decision I was facing from a wildly different angle. Exercises like Tim Ferriss's fear setting exercise, or some visualization exercises. And then the final thing that really helped was to carve out space around me, to let the decision emerge, rather than try and make the decision purely through reason and logic. If you're thinking of going on a sabbatical and are struggling to make a decision, I can help you figure out what the right move is for you. I've now left the corporate world twice after a 15-year career in the energy industry. The first time was early 2022 when I stepped away from a senior leadership position to go on a 12-month sabbatical to travel, read, design, and write. And I then went back to work for the same employer. And then the second time was early 2024, so a year after returning to work after my sabbatical, when I stepped away from my role as the strategy lead for a big company-defining transformation project to then become self-employed. I've thought, written, and spoken about sabbaticals a lot over the past 2 years. I've also guided more than 60 people with their own sabbaticals through direct one-on-one conversations, whether it was to help them shape and navigate a sabbatical they were already on, or to help them decide if going on sabbatical was indeed the right move for them. And I've created a playbook that will give you the space, the structure, and the companionship you need to make a decision that feels right for you. It's called Thinking of a Sabbatical. The playbook follows a structure that is simple and really effective. You'll learn more about sabbaticals in the beginning, the various archetypes, and what you can get out of each of them. Then we'll dive a bit deeper together into the classic fears people have when making the decision. I'll offer alternative perspectives on the problem, as well as some practical ideas that you can put in place to help manage any fears that you have. I'll also help you visualize what life might look like on both paths when you're standing at the fork in the road, and whether there are any other paths that might scratch the itch that you're feeling. Finally, I'll help you make the decision, or get closer to making the decision. And if you decide to go on sabbatical, I'll share some thoughts to help you prepare for takeoff. Throughout the playbook, I share stories from my experience and from the experience of others I've spoken with. I share frameworks that will invite you to think about the questions you're facing with a slightly different lens. and I also offer exercises to help you progress in your thinking. I also know that much inspiration and peace is gained from hearing stories from others who have gone through a similar journey, not that long before you. So I've invited a panel of 5 sabbatical takers to share their stories with you directly. You'll meet Bruno, Meryl, Sriram, Yuja, and Raymond. Some are still on sabbatical. Some have already returned to work. And in the Playbook, they share their experience openly and thoughtfully. For example, on what their decision-making process looks like, their hopes and their fears for their sabbatical, and the moment when the decision crystallized for them. I've also invited a couple of very special guests to share their wisdom at some of the most critical points of the process. Paul Millard has written extensively about our evolving relationship with work, and he's the author of the book, The Pathless Path, that has now been bought by more than 45,000 people. In the Playbook, he shares some of his thoughts on the value there is in taking a break. And then Michael Ashcroft, a writer, a coach, and an Alexander Technique teacher. Alexander Technique is an awareness-based skill that helps people live with greater ease and freedom. And in this Playbook, Thinking of a Sabbatical, Michael shares his thoughts on why real change feels wrong and how to manage that so you can make a big life decision like this one. Ultimately, I want to give you peace of mind and confidence that you are making the right call, whatever that call is. And I'm confident that thinking of a sabbatical, with the space it offers, as well as its structure and stories, will help you do just that.